All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. My name is Christopher Garth. I'm the Executive Director of the Hawaii Dispensary Alliance, a trade association for the complete industry of cannabis here in Hawaii, trying to introduce appropriately the industry to the people, the businesses, and the patients of Hawaii. Joining us today at the 2017 Cannabis Expo is Senator Will Espero, representing the 19th Senate District that encompasses Ewa Beach, Ocean Point, Ewa by Gentry, Iroquois Point, and portions of Ewa villages. He currently serves as, is it Majority Floor Leader? Thank you very much. Of the Hawaii State Senate, and he's chair of the Committee on Housing. He sits as a member of the Committee of Commerce, Consumer Protection, and Health, as well as the Committee on Education and the Committee on Higher Education. Joining him to his right, your left, is Representative Della Belatti, representing the 24th House District, including Makiki, Tantalus, Macaulay, Papakolea communities, and she is the chair of the House Health Committee. She also resides on the Judiciary and Human Services Committees. If I could get a warm round of applause for the Senator and the Representative. Thank you very much for joining us today. I know it's early, it's an ugly day, so thanks so much for making your way over here. If we could start, is there anything else you'd like to add to those introductions? Representative, Senator, Representative?
No, just aloha and thank you all for joining us. It's exciting times in Hawaii's cannabis industry, so I'm excited to be here and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Rep. Senator?
And you know we are currently in the legislative sessions, so go to capital.hawaii.gov, capital.hawaii.gov, and you could pull up all of the marijuana cannabis bills and track them and follow them. And if you want to testify, you could testify online from the confines of your home. So it's that easy. So hope to hear from you one way or the other.
Thank you, Rep. Thank you, Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that easy. Of course, our panel here has been involved in politics for quite some time, but it all starts with you engaging in your civic duty. Please do testify, weigh in. Everyone here has an opinion and something at stake as this industry develops, whether as you are a patient, a caregiver, or potentially looking to involve yourself in a business capacity. So please do check out hawaii.capital.gov. capital.hawaii.gov. As we get into it, here we are in 2017. 17 years ago, the state of Hawaii was one of the first in the nation to move towards a medical marijuana program. What's changed in the 17 years? And more specifically, what's changed in the last 2 years since your delegation put forth the legislation to enact a dispensary program?
Yes, we were the first state to actually pass and get ahead on the medical marijuana, but sadly we fell behind, and a lot of that is due to just the makeup of committees or chairmen or just the bodies themselves, and whether you have consensus or the feeling you want to do more in terms of the passing and improving upon your current legislation. And it took us a while to get to the dispensaries where we are now, following the lead of many other states. And now we're on the verge, as Representative said, of something big and exciting in medical cannabis, but potentially in other commercial areas regarding cannabis and hemp. So, this year it's about improving upon what we have. And there's some major policy issues. I don't know if we'll take them up this session, but certainly next session or two, just in terms of how do we expand. Do you expand this industry horizontally, or do you expand it vertically as it currently is, or do you do a hybrid, you do somehow both? But if you do believe that medical marijuana and hemp and cannabis is going to become legalized, get on board now, because it's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting.
Thanks, Senator. Representative?
I think from my perspective, and just real quick, Senator, were you in the legislature in 2000?
That was my first legislature.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my first one, and so yeah, it's good to see it develop. Although it's been a long time.
And you voted yes for medical marijuana?
I must have, yes.
Yes, Rep, I wasn't going to ask him if he was around then, but
Well,
yeah.
so the point I'm trying to make was that I think that there is one big change has been that there is a new generation of leaders. We're trusting on our own veterans, but I also do think that there is a new generation of leaders that are reflective of the growing acceptance that has been cultivated and grown in the community. So I think the other thing that I would say that's really changed, and it's really due in part to a lot of the caregivers and the patients who have stuck with the program for the last 17 years. This group of caregivers and patients have innovated on their own with their own children, with their own debilitating conditions. They have experimented and developed strains that we're going to begin to be able to understand and study more. So I think that's a huge difference. The innovation that has occurred outside of what government has really accepted has been something that I think is pushing us to make sure that our laws can encompass that innovation. I'm excited about these times. I'm excited about working with folks like Senator Espero because we have this opportunity to really help shape this industry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Senator.
And on a brief note, the issue's coming full circle because, as you all know, cannabis has been legal forever. And it wasn't until 1937 when Congress decided to tax it. That was the beginning of the end when they decided to tax it. And there was a group of white millionaires and billionaire industrialists who wanted to take control of the paper industry, the fuel industry, and the clothing industry. Thus the attack on cannabis and hemp, which deals with, if you look at hemp clothing versus plastics and vinyl, the DuPont family, they were involved. William Randolph Hearst and his paper industry, and of course, and again, competing with hemp for that paper industry. And then Henry Ford wanted to build a car out of hemp, and he wanted to use hemp as the biofuel. Can you imagine that? I mean, what forward thinking? And what happened? Again, due to greed, they literally cut the industry right out from under its legs. So it's from 37. I mean, so when the 60s, when your grandparents did this revolution and this, I don't know if anyone is around here, but I mean, that was the beginning of the coming back and bringing it full circle. And here we are, hopefully, literally on the verge of, in terms of revenue, and this is very important, in terms of revenue, this can be a lifesaver for the state of Hawaii, because from our perspective, governing is not easy, and we need taxes to take care of every single one of you and your children and your parents and everyone else, and that doesn't come free. And marijuana and medical marijuana could provide a big source of revenue for our state, especially when you look at the Hawaii brand and what we could possibly do in terms of commercializing the Hawaii brand. But we're not really here to talk about that. I think we'd like to talk mostly about the medical marijuana legislation.
I think so. However, some of those tax considerations have come up in the legislation. But let's go back to something that Representative Belatti pointed out. She gave a lot of credit to our patients and our caregivers for sticking with the program, being innovative on their own for 17 years. During that time, Rick Simpson oil came into fruition, a number of strains were developed, and different ways to imbibe these medicines were created. What do we see as far as legislation that reflects the acceptance, the legal acceptance of some of those protocols, those programs, those products to ensure patient safety, patient access, and to general cheaper, better medicine?
So from my perspective, the current law does acknowledge some of those innovations. In the current law, one of the acceptable manufactured marijuana products is the oils, and so to me that covers RSO. I think we need to do more in the arena of edibles. So where we are in the legislative process at the moment is we have just crossed our triple deadline. And what that means was any bills that had 3 or more hearings, they had to cross their first committee. So we're very early on in the process, that's to say. And then we're going to have another deadline coming up this week, which is the lateral, which means every bill that has multiple committees has to be moved into their last committee. So I think in the next week, at least from the House, so breaking news, if you're in here in this room listening, you're getting the news first, there will be more medical marijuana tax bills being heard in the House committee. We're sorting through that now. One of those may look at the edible products. I know that on the Senate side, they have already considered a bill that will be moving out, a proposal to consider marijuana edibles. And so, again, we're like you said earlier, we're early in the process, and if you want to influence it, we can still take up that issue of expanding our law to include some more of these innovations.
Senator?
Yes, a key point in our law is how you take it. And edibles, where we've gone on the mainland, you know, it's just normal, it's common, it's there, but we don't allow edibles. And the Department of Health, you know, they are an anti-smoking agency, an anti-smoking department. So they're not real excited about edibles, but it's plain and simple. Okay, if you're anti-smoking, you have to find a way people can take their medicine, and you've got to get behind edibles. So we're pushing them, and we're dragging them along. They understand they're going to have to, and hopefully we can pass the legislation this year for edibles. And again, that has the potential of opening it up to mom and pop type operations, working with the dispensaries, depending on how we craft any legislation. But certainly, you know, edibles is a very convenient way, or drinking it. You know, for some people who have difficulty chewing and swallowing, for example, drinking it is very easy. So hopefully this legislation, it's Senate Bill 173. Senate Bill 173, and that's a Christmas tree bill, if I may say a couple more items.
That was going to be, absolutely, that was going to be my next question.
Okay. This measure also would allow seedlings to be grown. So right now patients can grow 7 plants, okay, and that's it. And I'm identifying, as in the other bill, that a plant is, you know, 12 inches or higher. So if you can have 7 plants as well as 7 seedlings. And we know that's still not enough, but it's a start, okay? Maybe the House could expand it if they want, if it gets over to 10 or 20 for all, you know, so. And then there's the issue of the caregivers, because I believe the law says now by 2018.
That's correct.
And we're looking to expand that. I like to just remove that date altogether, but if not, you know, 2019, 2020, 20 whatever, but especially since the dispensary system that we wanted up and running is still delayed. Another item I put in, but the chair didn't agree with me, was to allow felons to work in dispensaries if they've been, you know, 5 years, you know, as good, productive citizens or more. To me, it just, you know, why continually punish somebody who's paid their dues to society? You know, let's say someone has been out of prison and done fine for 10 years. You're telling me they can't sweep the floor or, you know, stock up on products or whatever the case may be, depending on the type of felon. But the chair didn't agree with me on that, and that's fine. That's one of the minor points of 173. Yes, and that's the main areas there. So,
well, Senator, I think that a number of people would agree that perhaps those felons who were incarcerated for anything cannabis related might be an incredible asset to the industry. But at the same time, there is an opportunity for that language to be reinstated in some